Have you ever left a conversation feeling completely exhausted, even though nothing bad happened?
There was no argument, no conflict. You just felt drained. That feeling isn't random.
It's a real psychological experience.
Not all exhaustion is physical. Some of it is deeply emotional, and it often comes from invisible dynamics happening in real time. Today, we're breaking down exactly why certain people leave you feeling so drained, what's happening inside your nervous system during these interactions, and why some personalities just feel heavier than others. Let's start with a core concept. Your brain is constantly scanning its environment. It doesn't just switch off and relax in every situation. Instead, it's always on the lookout, analyzing things like subtle shifts in someone's tone of voice, their fleeting facial expressions, any hidden tension in the room, and the unspoken power dynamics at play. When you're around someone who feels unpredictable, overly critical, or emotionally intense, your nervous system automatically goes on high alert. It's like your internal security system is activated, preparing for a potential threat, even if that threat is just a harsh word or a judgmental look. And staying on high alert requires a tremendous amount of energy. You might not even be consciously aware of it. You're just trying to have a normal conversation, but your body is working overtime in the background, burning through your internal resources just to keep you safe. After a while, that constant state of vigilance leads to that familiar feeling of being totally depleted.
This brings us to the idea of emotional labor.
A lot of the exhaustion you feel comes from unspoken, invisible work. Think about your interactions with certain people. Are you constantly managing their emotions for them, trying to keep them happy or calm? Do you find yourself softening your own words so you don't set them off? Are you carefully avoiding certain topics that you know will lead to a negative reaction? Or maybe you're always over-explaining yourself, trying to justify your feelings or actions. That is all emotional labor. It's the invisible work your brain performs to maintain stability and keep the peace in a relationship. You're basically acting as a conversational shock absorber. And just because this work is invisible doesn't mean it's not real. It's still work, and it's incredibly taxing on your mental and emotional energy reserves. It's no wonder you walk away feeling like you've just run a marathon. Another huge factor is energy imbalance. Some interactions feel draining simply because they are completely one-sided. It's a classic dynamic. One person vents, complains, and dumps all their emotional baggage, while the other person is expected to just sit there and absorb it all. Or one person dominates the entire conversation, making it all about them while the other person has to constantly adjust, shrink, and make space for them. When the emotional exchange isn't balanced, when it's not a two-way street of giving and receiving, your nervous system ends up absorbing far more negative energy than it releases. In psychology, this is sometimes called asymmetrical emotional regulation. You're regulating their emotions, but who is regulating yours? Over time, this imbalance creates a profound sense of fatigue. It's like you're a container that's constantly being filled up with someone else's stress with no way to empty it out. Now, if you're a highly empathetic person, you're likely to feel this even more intensely. Empathetic people are especially vulnerable to this kind of drainage because they don't just hear the words someone is saying. They actually absorb the emotions behind them. Their brains are wired to mirror the feelings of others automatically, a phenomenon known as emotional contagion. So, if you're talking to someone who is deeply anxious, your own body will subtly start to feel anxious too. Your heart rate might increase and your muscles might tense up. If you're around someone who's simmering with anger, your nervous system tightens in response, preparing for a confrontation. When you're constantly exposed to other people's heavy emotions and your body is mirroring them, you leave the interaction feeling completely depleted. You've essentially been carrying their emotional weight in addition to your own. But it's important to make a distinction here. Not every person who drains you is necessarily a toxic person. Sometimes the problem isn't the individual themselves, it's the dynamic you've co-created with them. If you have a pattern of over-functioning in your relationships, if you're always the one who over-listens, over-accommodates, and over-gives, you will feel drained even around perfectly nice neutral people. In these cases, the exhaustion doesn't come from them alone. It comes from the role you're playing and what you're carrying inside the interaction. You've trained yourself to take on too much responsibility for the emotional climate of the room, and that habit will drain you no matter who you're with. Recognizing your own patterns is just as important as identifying draining individuals. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? That feeling of being drained is valuable information. It's not a judgment against someone else, and it's not an accusation. It's simply a signal from your body. It's your nervous system telling you exactly where it felt overextended, where it had to work too hard, and where the energy exchange felt unbalanced. The goal isn't to start avoiding everyone who makes you feel tired. The goal is to develop a deeper awareness of these dynamics. It's about recognizing where you're giving more than you're receiving, and where you're performing invisible labor without even realizing it. This awareness is the first step to restoring your energy, because your energy is precious and it's something you absolutely deserve to protect. Thank you so much for watching. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more insights.